Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of Voice of Radio. So today, we need to take a look at Golurk. Now, Golok is one of these weird cards that I've been borderline obsessed with since it came out. And an awful lot of people haven't been taking me awfully seriously. And I can't blame you very much for that. It's not been a powerhouse deck. But it just keeps popping up. It keeps coming around over and over again, and it's happened again, and here's the cool thing. We are losing a couple of cards to rotation, but this is a deck which is going to come through the rotation largely unscathed, and is going to lead to a really good deck post-rotation. Let's have a gander, shall we? So starting off then, it is very much a Golurk deck. Now for those of you that may have forgotten, Golurk is the card that for just 2 energy does 160 damage. Single prize, stage 1 Pokemon, 160 damage, 1 energy attachment. There must be a downside. There is. The downside is that it does not work if you have any supporter cards in your discard pile. Now, initially, we could play this back when we had Gladion, and Gladion basically went into your prizes so you could actually play it. Yeah, you can muck around playing them and then immediately using Power Pad to get them back into your deck, but really here, we're playing a supporterless deck. And that has been one of the big issues with trying to play this deck since it came out, has been trying to get consistency, bearing in mind you're not allowed to play supporter cards. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's where the new Manectric comes in. You see, the new Manectric might be the answer we've been looking for. It's got that ability, just like the Beware from Guardians Rising, whereby when you play this card from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, you draw 3 cards. Now at this stage, a lot of you are probably going, well, hang on a second, Wassy. If the Beware had this ability and wasn't good, why are we now all of a sudden expected to believe that Manectric might be good? And the reason is extremely simple. Manectric has free retreat, which is a huge advantage, and we've got Scoop Up Net now. Scoop Up Net lets us pick up a non-GX, non-V Pokemon and put it into our hand, which means you can then play it back down again. So if we're playing a free Manectric line of 4 Scoop Up Net, that is 7 times during the game that we get to draw 3 cards. That ain't bad, ladies and gentlemen. That ain't bad. Now, in terms of other Pokemon we're playing here, obviously Golok and Manectric are the main dudes, but we're also playing Chinchino. Because, yes, Manectric is great. Yes, Manectric lets you draw 3 cards when you evolve it. But let's not go silly here. We know that that is not always going to be the most reliable draw power. We need something that's just there static for the entire game. That's where Chinchino comes in. And if you've got 2 Chinchino out, you draw 4 cards, and then you draw into a Manectric or a Scoop Up Net, and now you're drawing 7 cards, and that is just as good as if you'd played a Professor's Research. This can work. This can genuinely work. Now, one of the cards we will lose to the rotation is Ditto Prism Star. That's really sad because Golurk's a stage 1, and Manectric's a stage 1, and Chinchino's a stage 1. And we also play the new Golisopod, or the newest Golisopod anyway. It's coming out in Darkness Ablaze. And what this Golisopod actually does is you get to do more damage depending on how many GXs and Vs your opponent has in play. For 2 colourless energy, same as Golurk, you do 30 damage base, plus 50 more for each of your opponent's Pokemon V and Pokemon GX in play. And essentially what you're doing here is just making sure that if your opponent puts too many Gs and VXs down, you get to get a big KO. It's not always going to work, and it's not going to be good at all against some decks. But it's got that option where in some matchups you're going to go, oh, they've overbenched, they've put too many VXs and Gs, I keep getting that wrong, don't I, onto their field, GXs and Vs, there we go. And now I can take advantage of it. It's kind of beautiful. It's a nice little backup attacker. Losing Ditto Prism Star does hurt a bit, because obviously all these different stage 1 lines going off one Pokemon is good, but it's really not the end of the world. Now, moving into energy, I'm sure you've all guessed by this stage we're playing 2 copies of Twin Energy and 2 copies of Triple Acceleration Energy. Twin Energy is any 2 energy when attached to a non-GX, non-V, which is all of your Pokemon. And Triple Acceleration Energy is 3 energy when attached to an evolved Pokemon, which is all of your attackers. Now, it does fall off at the end of the attack, which sucks, but it's 4 extra energy in addition to the twin. I think will be alright. Now, obviously, in terms of trainer cards here, we ain't playing no supporters, and we are literally playing no supporters whatsoever. Now, what we are doing is playing a bunch of Pokemon Search. 4 copies of Quick Ball to get your basics, and 4 copies of Evolution Incense to get your evolved Pokemon, and 4 copies of Pokemon Communication, which will let you swap a Pokemon in your hand for a Pokemon in your deck. And you are playing a bunch of Pokemon here, so that'll work quite a bit. And 4 copies of Mysterious Treasure, which is one of the cards that is rotating out. But then again, you could just chuck in Great Ball here. No, it's not quite as good, but I would feel confident just popping 4 Great Ball in instead, and I still think you'd have a pretty gosh darn consistent deck. So I really don't feel too bad about losing them. Plus, there are going to be plenty of situations where Great Ball gets you a non-psychic Pokemon. So I honestly do feel alright about that, ladies and gentlemen. I really, really do. I'd be tempted to make that change if the rotation hadn't happened. Now, obviously, we're playing Ordinary Rod here. We're playing a couple copies of it, because there are going to be games where you're going to want to use 6 Golurk, but you're only allowed to play a 4/4 line of Golurk. Oh, look! In comes Ordinary Rod. And Scoop Up Net we've talked about quite a bit. I don't think we need to talk about it anymore. Now, there are a few other cards in the deck, and they are rotating out, but I don't think any of them are absolutely game-breaking. We are losing Spell Tag. That is one where if a Psychic Pokemon gets KO'd, you get to place 4 damage counters anywhere you like. But we have just seen a reprint of Rocky Helmet, which damages when you get attacked. And so I'm not feeling terrible about it. I'd rather have Spell Tag, don't get me wrong, Spell Tag's awesome, it's not the end of the world. We are losing Custom Catcher, which is a little bit sad, but we got plenty of things like Pokemon Catcher, which is still very much in the format, and we've got stuff like Great Catcher, which will survive the rotation, though it only Gust GXs. So again, I do think we can work around this one really quite nicely. And we are losing 4 copies of Acrobike. That is one that lets you look at the top 2 cards of your deck. You discard 1 and draw 1. But there are other draw cards that we can use. It's a little bit sad. That's the one I miss the most of all of them. But I don't think it's the end of the world. There are some cards rotating from this deck, but not the important ones. The important ones are your Golok, your Manectric, your Chinchino, your Scoop Up Net, your Twin Energy, your Triple Acceleration Energy. These are your Ordinary Rod. These are the cards that we need in the deck. Yeah, sure, we're losing a couple to rotation, but I honestly don't think it's the end of the world. I do think this is a very, very strong deck, and the fun thing is that this is going to survive the rotation quite nicely, and it's a single prize, it's a non-GX deck. We don't have that many of them around at the moment, although they are increasing in number, to be fair. This is just another one of it. It's very easy and honestly very fair to say that this has not really been showing up in big tournaments. Even these big online tournaments we've been having during the thing that's been going on haven't really been teeming with Golok. But there's so much potential in this card. There's so much potential in terms of the prize trade. And honestly here, this is a deck I've got my eye on. And if this is a deck that you've got your eye on, a deck that you're thinking of playing, etc., I do think it is absolutely worth keeping this one on the back burner, keeping an eye on it, keeping it in your, hey, maybe I should have a test of this list. Because you know what, ladies and gentlemen? This could be very, very, very good. But I'd like to know what you think at this stage, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to know if you're taking this seriously, so let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.